All right, what's going on, man? It is Thursday. JMart, how we feeling, bro?
Feeling good, feeling good. NBA's coming back. College basketball's reaching conference championship time. It's heating up. It's getting exciting. It's getting fun.
Right, I was gonna say it's like the time where the casual will jump in. I was somewhat guilty of that. It took me a minute. I would say I missed the first month or two of the season. Been following it lately. Feels like everything's jumbled up. I know Auburn, they beat Alabama. They look really good doing it. We'll get into a couple different things, but I wanted to just start with, do you see it as parity? Like you go through the top 10, 15, 20 teams. Are they interchangeable to you, if that's the right word? Like, can you kind of mix them around, or do you see one team being a clear cut favorite?
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at most of the top 20, and I do think if they played each other on night in, night out basis, it'd be a bloodbath. They're all pretty close. There's not for me, outside of Auburn, there's really no team that like stands above the rest. But going back to Auburn, they do. I mean, they're 23-2. They're winning games pretty easily. They went through a phase without Jonte Broome, and they dominated those games too. Yeah, I look at them and I see a team that, as far as regular season goes, they are out and out the best. Again, you look at it's Bruce Pearl, who's
Right.
been really hot or cold in the playoffs. You know, he lost to Yale last year in the first round, really bad loss, but he's made deep Final Four runs with 5 seeds. He's capable of winning, but again, very hot or cold.
And Auburn this year, like they got the guys. They it's almost like they have a different team. They make their foul shots at the end of the game, and they don't seem to be as chaotic. Like the Broom character is fantastic. Is he the first pick in the draft? He's at least top five, right?
I don't know. He's a little older. I look at guys like I look at Flag, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper probably above him, and then one of the Illinois guys probably gets above him, but he probably sneaks in just out of pure like a basketball
When
ability.
he hit those couple threes against Alabama to start the game, that felt like he looked like an NBA player. I guess he needs that shot more consistently. He's got like a Josh Smith kind of game to him, maybe a little bit more polished. I know you were probably a huge Josh Smith fan. It
Oh,
seems
love him.
you're one of the ones not telling him not to shoot as he's about to shoot all the 3 pointers.
No,
So Auburn stands out. You got Duke, you got Florida, you got all the SEC teams. Outside the SEC teams, you got Duke, you got Houston, Iowa State. The Kansas got blown out by BYU the other night. Any of
yeah.
these Big 12 teams, or is it kind of Duke for you that is right there? Is there another SEC team? Before I get to a couple surprises, is there a second team for you?
Yeah, looking outside of that, it probably if we're going top 10, it would be I do like Alabama a lot. They've been a pretty consistent tournament team. They don't really lose to teams they're not supposed to.
And they
Pretty
brought
well.
back most of, I was gonna say they brought back pretty much the same team, right?
And yeah, and so that's a big thing. Like you want a lot of consistency with the lineup typically. Like you saw UConn goes back to back. Yeah, there's some changes there, but if you have consistency, it makes it a little easier to win games.
Is UConn? I'm sorry, I was just gonna say since you brought them up, are they finished? Like as far as a team that you think could win the whole thing? They lost at the buzzer to Seton Hall the other day.
I truly can't write them off. Just again, it's very similar to the Chiefs. You win it 2 times in a row, you're always going to be a factor. It's really unlikely. I'd be genuinely shocked if they win it, but they have to be a dark horse just because they've won back to back. They are the incumbents. I don't think they're structured very well. I think they end games really badly, which is something they never used to do. So I don't love them for the tournament. But again, if they get hot, if they win the Big East tournament, they become a factor. They become dangerous.
All right, so where's a couple teams that maybe aren't in the top 10 that you think could make a run?
Yeah, so my main one, my main dark horse from watching them kill Illinois multiple times is Michigan State. Michigan State, Tom Izzo team. Tom Izzo, this guy's made Final Fours with 7 seeds, with 8 seeds. He's an incredible playoff coach. He steps it up, lights get bright. Incredible defensive identity on that team when they basically second half, once Izzo sees what you want to do on offense, completely takes that away. Illinois missed 19 straight field goals to end the game last time they played. So his defense is elite. You want good defensive teams in the tournament. That's just like massive to have. And they score pretty well too. Izzo's problem is sometimes that his teams won't score that well. They'll be really inconsistent. This one does score at least good enough. 20-5. I think they're ranked a little lower
I
than
was
they
gonna say
should
they not typical dark. I mean, outside the top 10, Michigan State doesn't really get the dark horse category, but they've been a 7 seed lately. He hasn't had a top team, so this team is the best team he's had in several years. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I wonder by the time they're finished, what seed they get. What about anybody else outside of
Yeah, no, Michigan State is one example of a championship winner where consistent defensive identity. The other side is just the team that can get hot and just burn everyone and has the ability to beat top teams. And for me, that's Memphis. Memphis plays a really completely different style of basketball from Michigan State. That team's completely different. But the big thing for me, the reason I love them a lot, they beat UConn, which I know UConn's fallen off, but at the time, that's a massive game to win. It's a big mental battle. There's clearly no mental problems
that was
on
the early? Yeah, that was early, like one of those early preseason tournaments, I think.
yeah, and they looked great basically that entire tournament. I think they lost the last game, but they were still really solid. And the other thing is Dane Danger for them, who is I love Dane Danger. He's an Illinois player, went to Memphis, transferred over, NIL money situation. He was incredible in the tournament last year. He basically pushed Illinois as far as they went into the tournament. It was on his back. Having him on your team, being a ranked team at that point, looking like they're probably going to end up being what that be like a 6 seed right now. That's a really dangerous 6 seed. Like again, if they get hot, win their conference tournament, they're a team that like momentum it won't go away. They're one of those teams that if you're trying to make a perfect bracket, they're almost impossible to gauge. They could be a first round exit. I think they could make it all the way to the championship.
Gotcha. All right, and then give me 3 players. I wanted maybe a little education, some guys that aren't necessarily the top players in college basketball, or maybe just people that for people that are just kind of checking in that would be fun guys to watch. Starting as we get closer to March. So give me a guy.
Yeah, no. The first one I went with the Georgia guy. I went with an Illinois guy. I know those teams the best. My Georgia guy is Silas Damari Jr. If you're not watching college basketball, you don't know about him. Georgia's got a really fun guard rotation. They got like 4 or 5 guys that score really well. A lot of guys like to shoot a lot. Silas is the primary guy that likes to shoot a lot. Big shot chucker, a lot of crazy shots. Super fun to watch when he's good. Super hard to watch when he's bad. He hasn't been as bad this season, though. He's been really fun to watch. You look at the Georgia team, you'd think Asa Newell would be taking most of the shots. Really only shoots about 8 times a game. It's Damari taking them. He draws fouls really well. He's really quick. Yeah, I love watching.
Where's Georgia? They're kind of falling out here.
They're
They're
done.
basically
They're so done. Yeah.
they're on the bubble, or are they completely done?
No, they're done. We don't have the best coach. We get out adjusted at halftime like something insane. We've had games we're winning 8.5, lose by 20. You can't do that. We've had a couple of those, so it's been rough, but yeah.
Got it. All right. So who else we got?
So this is a guy some people should know him. I really like him. He's my Illinois guy. His name's Caleb Yakachonis. I'm gonna call him KJ for the rest of this, so I don't have to say all that again. He is, in my opinion, probably one of the highest ceiling players in college basketball at
Is that
this
the big
point.
guy?
No, he's the guard. He's the freshman guard.
Wow.
He looks like the kind of guy that will have Lucas
Okay.
stats going into his career. I've not seen confidence like that out of a freshman in a very long time. He'll shoot from wherever when he wants to. His passing's great. He tries really hard on defense, which is rare. You don't really see that a lot from a guy that's kind of like a facilitating, like does everything on offense, kind of field general thing. Yeah, he's just incredible. Getting mocked in the top 10 right now. I think whoever gets him is getting a incredibly good person that can come in as a second unit facilitator and eventually become probably a perennial all-star with his ceiling.
Really? Where's Illinois at? Because they're just getting mollywopped over here.
Yeah, I really like them as a team. Again, another one of those just like Memphis, where it's if they can get going, they're going to be really good. It's been kind of rough recently. It's not been the best shooting, bad guard play, basically. I think KJ has hit a wall.
Wisconsin. I mean, Wisconsin put 95 points on the other night.
Yeah, no, Illinois, it's been rough. I think that I'd prefer that they get cold right now than closer to the tournament. I think they have enough time to bring it back, but
Yeah.
it would be tough. Yeah.
Anybody else before we get to the NBA?
Um, I like Dane Danger is again, I talked about him earlier, but like think about he's like a 6'10 center with a big body that's just a board crasher. He's a driver, which is kind of interesting. Like you'll see him start from the 3-point line, just run full speed and just dunk it. Really fun to watch. Like just if you want to watch entertaining basketball, you have like a Zach Randolph kind of player that's just like super tenacious, super fun to watch play. And then my sneaky favorite number one overall pick potentially is Ace Bailey, coming from Georgia. I love his game. When you look at a guy and hit the weakest part of his game is probably shooting free throws, you're looking at a pretty incredible player. Again, the free throws are bad. I think he's figured it out a little bit, but that scoring ability is, I think, the best in college basketball right now. I think he's great. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm excited to get down the stretch and see. There's a lot of guys. I'm really impressed by after watching the Alabama Auburn game and the Grant Nelson. I'm always down for like the gritty guy who is getting all the offensive rebounds. So my favorite thing in basketball is offensive rebounds. Getting them and giving them up is my least favorite. But Alabama, after watching them lose to Auburn, the way they play, they have basically the same team that they played against Carolina last year that they beat, and then Connecticut, they couldn't get over the hump. It's probably better for them to lose to Auburn the other day, but I really like Grant Nelson. I like watching him play. I like the Caravan guy on Connecticut,
Really
but
fun too. Yeah.
he does everything the right way. But it'll be interesting to see what happens to UConn. But all right, let's go to the NBA. There's no more trades. No more things can happen. Everything's set. We're here. What's the storyline? Because it feels like you can really go in a lot of different directions. I feel like you have to start if you're an actual NBA like basketball fan and not into the soap opera. To me, the lead still has to be the Celtics. They did win the championship last year, so I want to start with the Celtics, and then I'm going to serve it up to you for your storylines. But to me, what the Cavs added, what did they do? They who they had DeAndre Hunter, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was they're the ones that have a shot. When I go through the rest of it, the Knicks made their move to get Towns. It won't be enough to beat the Celtics. I think it's already been proven. The Celtics have blown them out twice. Milwaukee, to me, they're not really relevant. They just don't. They can't keep up. That's my take on it. The Cavs added the piece that you need, right? You need one more wing guy to match all the Celtics wings. When I look at it, I feel like it's going to be Celtics Cavs 1-2, unless it's a better chance that the Knicks could potentially trip up the Cavs. But as soon as they get there, I think the Celtics have done everything the right way. You might not love it. I don't love it. All the threes, it is what it is, but they're playing basketball. I think the best way you play basketball. And I don't see any reason why they don't win the East. I think they should get a little bit more credit. They really built the team the right way. They did all the contracts the right way. They brought everybody back. And I don't know if they'll catch the Cavs. They're 5.5 behind. I don't think it really matters because if they're stuck at the 2, they play the Knicks. So agree, disagree on that.
Yeah, well, my first storyline was the Cavs Celtics for the East because I agree. I don't think there is another team that competes. I really like Indiana. They showed that they can be a really good playoff team as well. I mean, they're just stacked full of elite role players, like full team of really good role players. I think their issue is they lack a true star. Halliburton's not been the best this year. Siakam's been hit or miss. Miles Turner's actually had a pretty good season, but I don't think they have that scoring punch from one specific player to really get them there. But I do think they can make teams struggle a little bit. I can see them pushing the Celtics to 6 or 7 games. But yeah, I look at the East. It is Cavs Celtics, and when it comes down to it, the Cavs have been a bad playoff team past 2 seasons. They just don't score. Offense completely shuts down. It's really they're going to have to prove to me that they can actually score in the postseason for me to think that they can even compete with the Celtics. And like you said, I don't think the seeding really matters. They're looking at either one of them probably playing like it looks like probably Magic, Hawks, or Heat would be two of those 3 teams would be who they end up playing. There's not much change between those guys. Yeah, it's in my
Yeah,
opinion, conference to lose.
the Magic had a chance, but it just seems like they got ravaged with injuries. They'll probably get hot towards the end of the year. They're probably a good team to bet on. I would assume they'll be better coming out of the break. But
Yeah, I think they can pass the Pistons. I do think you see the Pistons fall into that play-in spot. Great team, they're a fun team, but I just don't love the full construction. You have a lot of guys playing probably above where they should be, and they don't have Jaden Ivey anymore. That's a really big miss.
and I also think it's a galvanizing thing for the Celtics to be the only relevant team. Them and the Nuggets. That's why I like the Celtics and the Nuggets. That's what we'll get to that. But because they didn't make a trade. And I think it's a good feeling to be like everybody else is making those trades because they know they're not as good as us. And I don't know if anybody did anything to catch them. So,
They
all right.
they did trade Jaden Springer for a second. Don't forget about that. They did trade away Jaden Springer for a second-round pick. Big
I
trade.
I was gonna say I didn't even know they did that. They just been battling, also not even having their full roster. It feels like Holiday
Yeah.
hasn't played a lot. Jaylen Brown hasn't had the greatest year. Tatum's been great. If you haven't watched Tatum, I mean Tatum's he's also the perfect role model for how to handle yourself. He does everything, in my opinion, the right way. Very easy to root for. All right, so cool. What else you got?
Yeah, so for the West, obviously the main storyline are the Lakers. What are they going to do? How are they going to look? I think there are some legitimate fitness concerns with Luka. He's not playing back to backs right now. That might just be them trying to save him for the postseason, but it does kind of show a legitimate problem with his health or his fitness. It's one of the two. But yeah, how are they going to play? You have LeBron at 40, you have Luka not playing back to backs. Means Austin Reeves needs to shoulder a lot of the load. Do they have the role players around him to be competitive prior to the postseason? Because another thing you have to remember with the West is the Lakers are 32-20, but 31-25 puts you in the play-in, and
Right.
they don't want to be there. So they really do have to make sure that they keep themselves a step above. And the other option with that is the West looks kind of weird. If you told people that the Grizzlies and Rockets would be in the top 5 at this point in the season, no one would really believe you, and they're 2-4 right now. So do the Grizzlies hold on to that? I love their construction. I think it's a lot of good role players, but do they hold number 2? Do the Nuggets jump up? Do the Rockets hold number 4? I think you've seen a lot of solid progress from the Rockets, and Jabari Smith's been hurt, which is another kind of big thing. These are teams that are more team constructed. How do they hold up for the rest of the regular season? Then going into the postseason, do you need that big main star, or can these like full all around kind of team style NBA teams kind of take
What do
over?
you think? What do you think's more effective, the LeBron Luca pick and roll, or the LeBron in the low post? And now you can't double that because Luca's on the court. I'll answer the question because it feels like if you're doing the LeBron Luca pick and roll, you're just switching that because whoever's guarding Luca is guarding LeBron's kind of a similar build. So I don't know if you get a super advantage there. What I'm interested to watch is if they, as much as it would kind of be ironic, right? At the end of his year, if they ran like somewhat like a triangle offense and LeBron plays like Michael Jordan at the end of the year, because his jump shot is elite. And I feel like you have to double him in the low post. He's recreated a situation where you used to have to double him in the low post in his absolute prime because he was the greatest athlete of all time. Now you're going to have to double him in the post because you don't have your best defender guarding him because you got your best defender guarding Luca.
Yeah.
I think you run the offense almost old school where you let Luca cook.
I think
Almost
it's a lot of ISO ball with kickouts to shooters like Hachimura and Reeves. I think it's a lot of ball dominant possessions. Like it's a Luka possession, so you kind of just let him do what he wants, or then you just go to LeBron and then always throw in like a LeBron pass to Luka to get open to show them that you can still do that. But almost run like you have two field generals out there. Let them switch off. They play different from each other. I mean, that's a lot for a defense to deal with. Like you basically have to just
I
hope that
just
one of them's cold, and
Yeah,
that's
I just don't think they'll have enough. I don't think they'll have enough energy to get all the way through the playoffs, but I definitely think they win the first round. Probably have enough energy for the second round. I don't know if they can just keep getting through it, but it'll be interesting. All right, so yeah, the Lakers. What's your ultimate prediction for them? If a few weeks from now, what seed do you think they'll get?
I think they'll probably. I don't know because it's such a center dominant conference. The West is, and their center play is horrible. No disrespect to Alex Len, no disrespect to Jackson Hayes. That's a terrible center unit. I think they might fall off a little. I think they could drop to 6. The good thing for them is that they would need one of the Clippers, Wolves, Mavs, Kings, Warriors to step up in a big way, which I don't really think could happen. I think it's more likely a Grizzly or Rockets kind of fall off. So they probably stay put. Yeah, it's a weird situation for them because they're so bad at center, but they're so good everywhere else. It's kind of how will that work out?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go the other way. I think the Lakers are gonna get a top 3 seed. I think they're gonna be great all the way through and just run out of gas. I think it's gonna be smooth. I expect them to roll. I don't think the center stuff was gonna kill them in the regular season. I think it'll kill them with Jokic. I got the Nuggets and the Lakers. That's why I have it. Before I set you up for your last NBA Nugget, no pun intended, but I just think the Nuggets are. I think Jokic is too good this year. I don't know who stops them except potentially the Celtics because Porzingis has about 4 inches on him, and that's a really tough matchup for Jokic. I don't know if I think any of the other centers. We can go through them. Edie and the Grizzlies is a good. That would be a tough one. I think we fundamentally disagree on the Thunder. I think the Thunder really are just cooked. I don't know who the Thunder really match up great against. They better hope they get the Rockets and the Timberwolves. And they blew the game to the Timberwolves the other night. Got blown out by the Timberwolves. They really didn't look good. I don't know. I'm just down on the Thunder, and I just don't know. I like the Clippers a little bit in the postseason if they can get there. I think Harden's had a really solid year. He's not getting. He's a really polarizing figure, but he's played really well. If you look at that team, I don't know how many guys in the NBA you could swap Harden out for, and the Clippers would be just as good. I think that would be an interesting thought exercise because you replace him with somebody else, and that team's a lottery team. So he's going to be a tough out in the playoffs. But ultimately, I just think everybody's competing with the Nuggets, and I don't think they can catch them.
I think the Thunder are above them still. I always will. I think that the structure of their offense is arguably perfect when everyone's healthy. You have Shea, who's more of a finishing. He's a 2 kind of scorer. Great. I mean, he's the modern James Harden. He draws fouls at an absurd rate. He gets made fun of for it, but he's really good at it. Yeah, and their defensive core is just really good. Like I do think they struggle a little at the center position, but I don't. They're 44-10 for a reason. I think that they're really well coached, and
They
I
are
think
the perfect regular season team. I will say they
yeah.
are the perfect regular season. It'll be interesting. We'll see. Holmgren can't write it. I mean, he's still a kid. Hartenstein's a grinder. Just think Jokic is above everybody. But give me something else. What else you got?
Yeah, and the other one are out of the Warriors, Suns, and Spurs. I think those are 3 teams that they're 10, 11, and 12 right now in the West. I could see all 3 making the play-in at the least. I'm interested to see what kind of step forward do the Warriors take? Do the Suns get better down the stretch now that they really need to win games? Do the Spurs look infinitely better now that they had De'Aaron Fox, or are they like a season or 2 away? Those 3 teams, I think, could jump up. I think one of them I think will make at least the playoffs out of the play-in. I lean the Warriors. I think the Warriors, if they can just make it to the play-in, are going to be really dangerous in the playoffs should they be healthy. But I can also see the Spurs getting kind of hot. I can see the Suns with Booker and Durant getting pretty good. It's a weird situation right now out there in the bottom part of that Western Conference, but I think those 3 teams are all capable of a lot more than the current 7, 8, 9 teams as far as it goes.
Durant has skated this year. He always skates he gets away with I don't like him. I don't like the game. I think it's very overrated. I thought what Tatum did to him when they swept him, the way he got bullied off of Kyrie was trying to win that series in Brooklyn, and Durant's like, I have to catch the ball 40 feet away because I can't deal with physical contact. And Durant's made the bookmakers a ton of money because I think the most popular bet this year before in the NBA was the over for the Suns. It was a small number. It felt like this was their year, right? They added Beal. Instead, it's always somebody else's fault with Durant. The way the Suns play is abhorrent. Like they set basketball back.
Oh, their defense is the most disgusting shit you'll ever have to watch in your life. They don't do anything well. They don't defend a single position with quality.
I can't. I go back and forth because you would think they would go on a run here towards the end, and they're always like a hard team to bet against because Durant's sitting there. But just when I watch, I just have a hard time with somebody who like can't lead the team, and he's never been able to be the leader of the team. And then he didn't want to go back to Golden State, which is kind of fun. I don't blame him because
That's been elite. Oh man, if they brought him back, I know that he wants to get out from that shadow, but at a certain point, he wants to just recognize like it's probably the best role player in NBA history. It's a good thing to be, but I think he will always need that primary. He won't ever be able to be the primary option on a championship winning team.
Yeah, it's something misses with the continuity of the team that it's just not there. So all right, well, cool. Wanted to kind of catch back up on things. Basketball get rolling, get the bets out every day, get the play of the day, and then yeah, check back in with you. We usually do Tuesdays, just scheduling wise, but we'll get back together on Tuesday. And yeah, good luck on all the bets. And I'm gonna do pod tomorrow, so I'll see everybody on in the morning. All right, man. See ya.
I see you.